Hello, welcome to Kent Beer Reviews. Right, pretty special kind of review, as you saw by the title. So yeah, this is Founders KBS Kentucky Bourbon Stout, aged in oak bourbon barrels, brewed with chocolate and coffee. Aged in oak bourbon barrels. Get that right. Right, I'm doing a vertical, so this is a 2015 edition. It's coming in at 11.2% ABV and 70 IBUs. Founders are, say where it's from, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, established since 1997. So there you go, that's the 2015 version. This was bottled on January 12th of 2015. And here's this year's version, KBS flavoured stout, exactly the same. The only thing that's different, it's still 70 IBUs. This is bourbon barrel aged again. This is 12.4% ABV, and this beer was bottled on the 16th of February 2016. Right, let's get the 2015 out. There's a traditional bottle cap as well. Let's get this beer out then. Oh, lots of smoke there. Let's try and generate a little bit of a head. Very rich, roasty head. Wow, it's tiny little bubbles there. I think you're getting too much light there, so it's just over a finger of tan coloured head. Right, let's let that one settle a bit. Here's the 2016 version. Same bottle cap. Wow, that is much darker. Look at that. Slightly darker. That's the 2016. And there's the 2016, 2015. Fantastic. Right, let's let this year's one settle down. Let's get an aroma on a 2015. Oh. Bourbon. It's one of the most obvious things you're picking up on this beer now. Well, as I can remember it last year, this beer, I think obviously the coffee has probably faded a little bit. You're still picking up coffee and chocolate, but not quite to the same level as last year, so they've faded a bit. But now that's faded, the bourbon is pushing on through. Right, that's the 2015. That. Less bourbon in the 2016. Much more kind of coffee notes, chocolate, some darker fruits, plums. Nice rich roasted malt on both beers. Smells pretty damn good. 2016. Right, let's go for a taste of the 20. Oh, let's see what's what here. Yeah, that's right. Just making sure, getting mixed up. Right, 2015. Cheers. Oh, smooth bourbon. Apart from the bourbon notes, that is very smooth. As in alcohol on the on the actual thing, you're not picking it up at all. Very smooth. Reminds me of licorice all sorts. It's slightly earthy, leathery, but very smooth. Dark fruits, dates, raisins, that kind of thing. Plums, but very nice. Right, let's have a go on this year's version. I'm expecting more coffee and chocolate in this than bourbon. Yeah, miles less bourbon. It's surrounded by other things, just making that bourbon not quite so prevalent. Wow. Very, very smooth. Both smooth beers. As I say, the bourbon in this year's edition, 2016, is not quite so bourbon forward as the 2015, because other flavours have fallen away and the bourbon's come to the fore. Let's have another go on this year's. There's a hell of a lot more coffee. It's smooth still. Chocolate, dark fruits. There's a slight leathery edge to it. It's a little bit more hot, boozy. But the booze has definitely calmed down. Although you're picking up more hints of bourbon, you're picking the actual alcohol up on your throat a little bit more because it's fresher. This will be a longer review, so back on the 2015. Yeah, much smoother. Rounded beer. It's come together very well in this last year. They were bottled pretty much on the same week of different years, so. But yeah, this beer is fantastic. This is only the second time, I believe, that this beer has been available in the UK. So this beer in America, by the sounds of it, which I've known about this beer for 10 years or more, but it's got a massive following to this beer. They queue around the block to get their hands on it, and when there is anything available, it goes in the shops. It's just gone. So I feel quite lucky that we can get this now in the UK on a limited amount anyway. So excuse me, I picked this beer up, this year's edition, up at BeerHawk. I think last year I picked that edition up from BeerHouse. BeerHouse, I think you pronounce it like that. Anyway, it's actually in Yorkshire. Sorry about background noise. It's both beers are world class. Before I do a rating, a little side note. I'm doing this beer I done yesterday. So basically, I actually reviewed this beer on Friday of last week, and I posted this beer yesterday on YouTube, and after 7 minutes 35 seconds it stopped, and I didn't know. So thanks Headley for pointing that out to me. I was pretty gutted because I didn't really want to do these beers today, but now I've cracked them. Yeah, I'm glad I have. So hopefully this review comes through well. I've had a lot of issues, some code or something. It's stopping me from producing every single video properly like I want it. I've had issues with my phone and the laptop, so I'm going to have to try and sort something out. Anyway, and I've got to do another beer that's got no sound on it as well. So anyway, I'm gassing on. I'm going to do a quick taste and smell of both beers, 2015. Smooth, sweet, roasted malts, big bourbon character to the 2015. Hints of chocolate and coffee, but certainly the coffee has faded slightly, what I can remember of last year's beer. Still well class. '16 version, look at the lacing as well. It's jet black, by the way, both beers, as you would expect. Much more coffee, not quite as smooth, but it's definitely aged very well. I actually like them both, one that's aged and one that's fresh. They've both got their different qualities. Anyway, as for a rating, last year's edition I'm going to go for, it's pushing a 10, but I'm going to give it a 9. I think that's what I gave it last year. This year's edition, the 2016, I'm going to give that, I'm giving that a 10 out of 10. I think it edges it, what I can remember of last year's. They're both very similar matched now. I would imagine the 2016 in a year's time is going to be ultra smooth, and it would have come together very well. That's going by last year's beer now. I think this year's beer is edging last year's beer. So I'll just quickly have a see if there's any information here. What we've got here is an Imperial Stout brewed with massive amount of coffee and chocolates, then cave aged in oak bourbon barrels for an entire year to make sure wonderful bourbon undertones come through in the finish. Makes your taste buds squeal with delight. So, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Just put the rest of it off. I didn't think there was any in that then. All right. Let's give you that tan coloured head again. Look at that. Awesome beer. If you can get your hands on this, I've only seen it at one online retailer so far. I'm sure it's going to be other places. Look at that. And that's it. KBS 2015-2016. Vertical. If you've had these beers before, let us know, in the UK or in America. I imagine the guys in America say, oh, it wasn't as good as 2012 or 2013 or whatever, but in the UK, let me know which one you think's the best out of the two, the 15 or the 16. Whew, that was a long review. If you're still here, you've done well. Cheers for watching, see you on the next review.